All right. Everybody all over the world. Habari za Asabui. Habari za Mchana. Habari za Jioni. Brothers and sisters all over the world. Kakas and Dadas all over the world. I am talking to each and every one of you all over the world. How's everybody doing? The name of this channel is The African Times, and I'm Thomas. All right, everybody, it's good to be back with you for another broadcast of The Rise and Shine. The Rise and Shine. Okay, I told you guys some time ago that I was going to talk about multiculturalism. Multiculturalism. And listen, wait a minute, before I get started, I'm starting to get a lot of comments, and we'll talk a little bit about that in another broadcast in more detail, but I'm starting to get a lot of comments, and as I told you in my first video, some of them, you get comments from people that, let's just say, they are not as polite or as positive as they could be, and that's fine. We knew that was coming, and we expected that. That's not a problem. But it's very interesting because one of them, just so you guys know, one of them told me I should take a speech class. It would be very helpful to me. And told me that, that I have a lot of, pauses with the uhs and the ahs, and then that my audible search for words, I guess, makes it very difficult for me to be followed and to be liked or to be listened to. So I just thought that was pretty funny. I just thought I'd share that with you guys. So anyway, all right, enough of that. Back to the multiculturalism, okay? Yeah, we're going to do a series of serious talks about various subjects, things that I've told you before in the past that we would talk about, and their economic impact on us as a people. We are going to do that dealing with us as Black African people. I'm going to do a broadcast later that helps to explain why I say Black African people. So look forward to that. So let's get started. You can see me, but I can't see you yet. Oh boy, all right, there you go. I see you. All right, I see all of you beautiful Black African people all over the world. All over the world. Oh, by the way, I love black. I love black. See? Black bajaji. Black glasses. Black shirt. You understand? Black skin. Now, again, I'm going to explain this in another broadcast. Black. Black. Beautiful, beautiful black. The darker the black, the better. It's beautiful black. Okay? So hang in there with me, people. Please, those of you who have been following many of the videos, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let's get into this multiculturalism so we get some understanding. All right, multiculturalism. So, multi meaning many. This is very simple, meaning many. More than one. All right, multi. And the next part of it is culturalism. Culturalism, okay, which is, we're talking about culture. Culturalism. We're going to understand a little bit more of the ism later, but for now, Multiculturalism. All right. So culture. What is culture? Culture is very simple. This is nothing complicated. Just culture is behaviors of groups of people. Behaviors by groups of people that become shared and common to the group of people. That particular group of people, different from another group of people. But just, again, shared behaviors that develop over time by these group of people. And they, some of them, they stay with the people for long periods of time. Some of them, they stay for shorter periods of time. Some of them, you do have on the extremes, some behaviors that are exhibited by a smaller group of people and not shared in common by all of the people. And then you have some that, on the other side, that are exhibited by many people. Many people. And then they become common and what some would call social norms. Just social interaction between one person to the next person that you find common among a group of people. Very simple. Nothing complex and anything like that. Very, very simple. Okay. All right. Now, multiculturalism. Again. So what we're talking about is what? Culture, shared by a group of people. But now we're talking about multiple groups of people that have culture for that group that is specific to that group. Culture by another group specific to that group. And there may be other groups. Then we have multicultural. Many groups that have these shared behaviors. Even with a lot of groups that are different from one another, maybe different locale, different language, different physical appearance, whatever. Even among all of those groups, there may be shared or common behaviors. And those groups don't have to interact with each other to have the common shared behaviors. They could be behaviors that just through the act of nature become common among different varying groups. Okay, so we don't want to get caught up in making something a little bit more complicated than it really is. Just multiple groups that have developed in their group a set of behaviors common to the group. Nothing complicated. Okay. Now, multiple culture, meaning many groups that have behaviors by themselves, they've been around from the beginning of time. That's normal. That's a natural thing that occurs with human beings and even other animals. They got a set of things that they do behaviorally. So when we talk about multiple cultures, that already exists naturally and has always existed, even when there were only one group of people in the world. For example, it's generally believed by some, maybe many, that at one point us black African people were the first people. Now you notice I say generally believed because you got to understand the W's in this world produce a lot of literature. A lot of literature that can be confusing and a lot of literature that can be misleading. A lot of literature that can alter history and knowledge and education in such a way that leads you back to them and their dominance and maintaining their dominance. These are facts. Okay, so let's get back to multiple cultures have always existed as long as there have been people. Even if there is just only one group of people in the world, that group of people within that one group can have what? Among that group, a smaller segment that have social norms, a culture that they have by themselves. Even though it's only one large group of people, you can have many small groups within the large group that have their own what? Individual culture, a set of social behaviors that exhibited in common to that group. Okay? All right, cool. So now we understand generally that what multicultural is, what culture is. All right? So now we have to get into what multiculturalism is as a concept. Not multiple cultures, but multiculturalism. Remember? Multiculturalism. You got multiple meaning many, and you got culture, social behaviors exhibited by a group of people. But now we add on ism. Ism. Multiculturalism. Now, why is this important, the ism? Well, because ism means that the culture and then the many cultures are now being labeled and put in terms of a concept, an idea, all right? Multiculturalism is a concept created to describe the use of culture for a particular purpose. Multiculturalism, because we know multiple cultures have existed from the beginning of time. You don't need to have an ism. They've already existed. They develop on their own naturally among groups of people. But what we're talking about now is multiculturalism. Again, a concept describing the use of culture, and remember culture, behaviors, common to a particular group, using that for some purpose. All right? So then you have to say, okay, give you an example of concept. If you're wondering, well, how can I say multiculturalism is a concept? It is a concept. It's created. I'm old enough to remember when that term wasn't even thrown about. It wasn't even used. It wasn't in our society as a term used to describe different groups. I remember that. I remember when it first started popping up on the news media. Okay. All right. So let's talk about concepts similar to multiculturalism that, again, are concepts that are created to use certain things, certain elements of society, certain ways of us to live, certain ways for us to live. Let's talk about these other concepts, these other isms, and then you'll be able to see that multiculturalism is just an addition to these. Like what? Capitalism. Capitalism. Capital. Money, objects, things, resources, natural, whatever, man-made, being used in a particular way for a particular purpose for the benefit of a particular group of people. Capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system. Economic. Capital, the object, the source. Ism, meaning now the concept of using the object for a particular purpose. And then we have what? Socialism. Another economic concept. Similar to capitalism, but with some variations in how people relate to one another socially and what the main objective, the object, is to achieve and how to achieve it. Different from capitalism. And we'll get into more about these specific things, capitalism, socialism, break them all down. That's another video, but understand, for the purpose of this video, it's explained to you that it's just a concept, a way of organizing people economically, capitalism, in a way that with a particular purpose, benefits a particular group of people. Socialism, which is another economic system of managing people and resources and things, is present it to people in such a way, and notice what I said, present it to people in such a way, similar to capitalism, but present it in such a way that socialism, that says the purpose of the interaction between the people economically is for the benefit of all the people. Okay, and that sounds really good. And that's a good idea. We should be working to benefit each other. Now, I'm not here to promote one or the other. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just kind of giving you an idea of what they present. Capitalism, more individual. You can grow up and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You can get rich and you do things. It's driving people to create and build, and you can get rich. Individual. Capitalism. And survival of the fittest. Each person try to get on their own. Okay, capitalism. Socialism, we do things for the benefit of the group, the people, everybody working together, and we try to create some procedure, some policy that benefits everybody. Then you have what? Communism. Communism in community, similar to socialism, where, the whole thing is supposed to be what? For the group, the people, a communal environment, very similar to socialism, but with certain different aspects of it. What, is it the government totally controlling everything and making sure that, resources get distributed throughout the whole society so that everyone benefits? Generally they're very similar, but some differences in how it's done and who controls it and whatnot. Okay, but remember, all of these are concepts. Capitalism, socialism, communism, and then we get to Marxism, another concept which really is a critique of capitalism. Marxism, an approach and a way of looking at how resources, how labor resources, human labor resources, how economic activity is viewed and used, economic activity is used to manage society. And so you can get into these things, but they're all concepts. So now what do we have? Those concepts, capitalism, socialism, communism, Marxism, and then we have multiculturalism. Now, just one quick note about the first four: capitalism, socialism, communism, and Marxism. They're economic concepts mixed in with social and political concepts. They all come together. They're dynamic. They interact and they exchange with one another. But all of these activities, even as a concept, have been here since the beginning of people. People have to relate to one another to accomplish the various things that they need to accomplish to survive. And we've all done that. Whether it's the individual micro unit, the family, which is what you hear me talking a great deal about, the family, a group of people who, through nature have created more of themselves, and then they come together to provide for their safety and security. And nothing bad, nothing spooky. It is what it is. It's just normal. Okay, all right. So those things have been here from the beginning of time. Now, multiculturalism, we already know, it's been here since the beginning of time because of the people. It already exists. It is a thing of its own creation. But the ism now creates a concept, ideas, an approach, and a philosophy to using the culture in a way that benefits a particular group of people. All right? Now, they're all the same thing. They're all what? Concepts. But again, used in a particular way to benefit a particular group of people. Okay? So now let's look at why would someone invent or create a concept? Multiculturalism. Now, we're going to talk about that. Multiculturalism, why would the concept be created? Because culture already exists. It's doing fine by itself. Don't need any help from anybody. It'll do that naturally. The survival of the people is a natural instinct. They'll do the things to adapt to the environment to survive. Okay, so what is the purpose for developing the multiculturalism concept? Now, when you talk about the purpose of creating something, you have to talk about the overt statement, meaning you just gonna come out and tell people this is why we created this, and this is what this is, and this is what its purpose is, and this is how we're gonna use it. You tell people that. And we have groups all over the world, governments, organizations, what we call private and public, whatever. They list overt statements telling you what their mission is, why they're doing a particular thing, and what it's about, okay? So you have the overt statement, but then you also have the covert agenda. In other words, I'm going to tell you this is for you, it's for the good of you, but then while you're reading all this great propaganda and PR, we're in the back having private meetings about what we really intend to do, how we really intend to use this concept for our personal benefit. And if it disadvantages a particular group of people, then we have to convince those people that, no, this is good for you. This is the best thing for you. That way, if they become convinced of that, they may not see the covert agenda that is harming them. And it's very important to understand because it's happening every day, particularly with groups of people that are in power. And we know who those groups of people are in the world today. So, again, we must ask, why did they create and develop multiculturalism? Why? Who is it benefiting? Is it benefiting anyone? We know what they tell us. In America, melting pot, meaning everyone's culture is important and should be shared. Now, that's a great overt statement. Freedom. Yeah, everybody come together and your culture is important and yours is important and all this. Okay, all right. But let's look closer at it. What's really happening in multiculturalism, I lived there my whole life, I've seen it, is that the overt statement, everybody is valued, everybody is loved, no child left behind, all of this. But what's really happening is the removal of one group's culture and the replacement of that group's culture with another group's culture, another group's common behaviors, which also common behaviors reflects your values, your morals, your way of looking at things. That is what has happened. So let me give you an example so that you see. Let's take us, beautiful black African people all over the world, okay? But in America, where I'm from, because I have proof of that, I'm there, I lived there, I saw it, okay? Black African music, right? Black African music is a cultural phenomenon. It's a way of expressing the values and social norms and beliefs of a group of people, shared and common beliefs. And you know that because what you'll have is, let's say you put out a song, it's a great song, it's talking about, say, love, okay? All right? If many people relate to the song, whether it's the rhythm, whether it's the words, the message, whatever it is, then many people go out and they buy the song, they sing the song, they play the song, they talk about the song, and it becomes a part of the society. It becomes a cultural phenomenon. I mean, even the person who wrote the song and sing the song can become a cultural what? Icon, a cultural person people look up to, okay? But remember, we talked about covert agenda, okay? So if it was true that the overt statement is that we all share everybody's culture and we do all that, then there would be no covert agenda. And in the case of our good black African people in America, remember I talked about songs of love. I'm old enough to remember when the music was all about love and, you know, romance, and you talk about what's happening in your neighborhood, in your community, and you talk about these various things. We even had songs with the kind of creation of hip-hop. And that's a social, cultural thing among us as black African people. We know that. It's a fact. There's nothing mysterious about it. Hip-hop, or whatever it was They started talking about what's happening to us and what we got to do and the knowledge you got to get. You got to be seeking and learn as much as you can. Wisdom, even survival. We even talked about our heroes in the music. Okay? Now, remember, that's the culture. That's the people adapting to their environment, and then all of the things that are inherent in their environment start coming out in the music, an expression of their beliefs, their social norms, their ideas, okay? But then something happened. Remember, multiculturalism. We here to protect everybody. Now, there's a group of people who changed that culture intentionally. And we know who they are, the W's, we know who they are. They changed it intentionally. And you say, well, how did they change it? Oh, well, I'm old enough to remember that, remember I told you the music was about love and heroes and life and goodness and what we can do to be better. They changed that to gangster, drugs, the promotion of violence, death, antisocial behavior. And then they told us that, well, this is what the people want to see. It's not what the people want to see. We didn't ask for that. That's just not true. So they then, in our culture, the elements of our culture, the methods of culture, begin to promote violence, drugs, death, and antisocial behavior. Now, how could they do that? They could do that because those are the people with the power over the cultural mechanisms, the things that help grow and change a culture with the advent of what? Technology in society, and we grow. So you have television, you have radio, you have print media, then you have the internet and social media and all of this. Well, once you say, okay, we are only going to promote songs, books, magazines, lectures, anything that deal only with these subjects. So then our kids grow up and they hear what? Drugs, violence, death, antisocial behavior. And they start pumping that into their minds, into their conscience from the time that they're very little. Once that happens, those children who've been listening to that since they were very little, because they're listening to it in the car with their parents are listening to it, then they listen to it and they hear it. It's played over and over and over and over again in their mind, and the mind is a recorder. So when they get older, they think, I like this, I like that. They have developed a taste for that type of entertainment, music, books, or what have you. They don't know that that was placed there in the beginning in their consciousness. They don't know that. They just believe that this is what they naturally gravitate towards, okay? So the individuals with the power to control those mechanisms of culture, those mechanisms that can alter, change, culture to be a particular way, to put the values and social norms and behaviors into a group of people, those people are active. They have a overt statement that says, no, multiculturalism, we all work together. We share your music, you share our music, we all listen together, and we value everybody's. But then they alter specifically in the covert agenda music, culture, language, art that negatively impacts what? Black African people. And then they say, it's your own fault. This is what your people like. This is what you want. All right? Now, I want you to understand that this is not new. What I'm saying is not new. I've been here long enough to see it. You have, many of you. The young people, you go back in some of these videos and look at some of the older music and listen to what it's talking about. Remember James Brown, I'm Black and I'm Proud? Remember that? Do y'all remember that? That brother was he was like the Michael Jackson of his day. I'm Black and I'm Proud. He had to do that because they had put out so much negativity associated with being Black African. All right? Okay, so remember, I'm telling you, this is not new. It was the recent past, and it's presently done now by a group of people who are in control of those mechanisms. Now, I know it's happening in America because I was there. I saw it. All right. Now, I'm seeing it in other parts of the world where they have exported Black African cultural music, altered it to be negative, And now they're exporting it to affect our children in other parts of the world, our great motherland of Africa. The various record companies, the various marketing and advertising companies, this is what they do. All right, so it's here. You can look around. Just start looking around and just start noticing the images that are on the backs of buses and cars and bajajis and buildings and billboards. You didn't ask for that. Somebody made a decision. Just like they do in movies and television, everything you see. Even now, I'm sitting there. I purposely set myself here in front, made sure that I was right between the two trees and all of that, and what's on the right of me and how I'm going to angle the camera, all of that. You make those decisions. Okay, so what we're talking about is the fact that it exists today. And it will exist in the future forever unless we as people understand the problem, see the problem, and then begin to make a change. And that's why you hear me talking about partly black African people, because even black African, it's labeled. It's not just the color. It's not just the color of your skin, but there's a consciousness, a set of social behaviors, a set of cultures, a set of both natural cultures and adaptive cultures that are developed as a result of our environment and the situations and conditions that we're placed in. Okay? So, men, kakas, brothers, this is our responsibility to make sure that our culture, language, now understand something, this is very important. One of the big aspects of culture is language. If we give up our language to take on another people's language, then that is one of the major mechanisms to destroy our culture. Think about something, the basic thing. If some people came to do some harm to you, if they came to do some harm to you in groups, large groups, and let's say your group is smaller than their group, and that's not the case with us Africans, but let's give you an example. If your group is smaller, because you might take a smaller group of the Africans, you come to attack them, but we all speak different languages and can't communicate, how are we going to organize ourselves in a united effort to stop these people from coming over here and harming us? How are we going to do that? That means we have to have what? Shared communication, the ability to communicate. Even if you have a separate language, then you need to have some common means to communicate so that you can pool your resources, human resources, to protect yourself against any potential danger. Okay? So men, brothers, it's our responsibility to make sure that this doesn't happen and continue to happen to our children. The children are coming here. They've been born into this world, and we, men, have a responsibility to organize ourselves in such a way that we prevent our children from going through the very hostile environment that we grew up in. And to provide through our own social and cultural mechanisms those social norms and behaviors that are necessary for our group of children and people, our future, and the children of the future, understand that. We are supposed to provide the social mechanisms and protect those mechanisms so that our children grow up with the social values and norms that we give them, not that somebody else gives them. And you must understand that this is happening because who in the world is inventing skin bleaching cream? For what purpose? Okay, all right, so we're going to do that. Why don't we make some skin darkening cream? Oh, no, don't do that. Why would you want to do that? Because I love black. Black is beautiful. Okay, now, we're going to get more into this a little later on, but I want you to understand something. We're going to talk about labels and facts. Labels and facts. In the sky, there's a big burning ball of fire. That's what it is, naturally. Calling it the sun is a label, a name given to it. But what it actually is a big burn. The fact, it's a big burning thing of fire. Right? You can go into the chemical makeup and the hydrogen or whatever it is. You can go into all that. But it's on fire. You touch it, you're going to burn it. You can right here on the earth. You don't have to touch it to burn you. Some people get skin burned. Those W's, they get skin burned. And some other groups. Burn, because it's on fire. That's a fact. Okay? We, as a people that look like you and me, we have many, many things naturally in our culture that bring us together. Naturally. It's unnatural through the labeling to then divide us. But once that happens, if you're over here and you're over there and you say you from this and you say you from that and you mean this and that, okay. So when those group of people come, and they are coming, they are here, see, they're able to unite themselves and cause purpose and action with intentionality to accomplish a particular goal. They might have differences, but they set those aside to deal with you and me. You see? Okay, so if you follow the propagandistic nature of multiculturalism, you believe that there's some multicultural society and we all love each other and we all work together, that's beautiful. I think that's a great goal. But the individuals who are in control of the social mechanisms that determine culture, that alter culture, they have a covert agenda to remove your culture and replace it with a culture, a set of behaviors and ideas and values that support their economic domination and control of the world. This is a global, you heard the term, global empire. You understand? All right. So, again, if you follow that belief that we should be in a multicultural and we all love each other, that's good. I would love for that to be the case. Respecting other people's culture, which is what they promote. That's the overt statement. Everybody's culture is respected. But that's not what they're following. That's why in the capitalist system, they eliminate competition. They don't want many stores, many shops. They don't want that. They don't even want many governments. No, they understand that if they are in control of those social mechanisms that create culture, develop culture, social norms, values, and ideas, and those social norms, values, and ideas are those ideas that suggest in the minds of the people, in the consciousness of the people, that the W world is the best world. And that world is with them being in control of you and your children and determining your social world order. They want that in your mind so that you'll just follow that and then they don't have to do anything. It's very easy to control you. This is what's happening. So if you participate in that, you end up aiding and abetting in the destruction of your own culture. All right? Understand that. Okay. All right. So listen, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. We may talk a little bit more about that later. Just a couple things. I'm going to start recommending a couple of books. Just a couple of books. I think every black African person, remember black, African, black, concept, idea, consciousness, concept, idea, culture. Okay? I'm going to recommend these two books that everybody read them, and this is required reading. Go get these books. One of them you can listen to online as an audio book, and that is the first one you should read. It's not a big book. I don't know, maybe a couple hundred pages, maybe. The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. It's on audio book. I believe it still is. Buy the book. Go to your black bookstore. Support them. They need support. Go there. Buy them. Read the book. The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. Read the book. Then the other book you need to get and is required reading is Black Power by Amos Wilson. Black Power. Go get it. That one is not on audiobook. It's a bigger book. It's about 850 pages. Go get it. I was going to bring it here to show you, but I read it so many times that the binding is coming loose. But go get it. And you need to read it because Chancellor does a good job in the destruction of black civilization and explaining how we got in this situation. Many of you want to know how we got in this situation? Read his book. Read it. And then listen to it online. There's a brother, I think Exam Info. You can go on YouTube, look up Exam Info. He read the book to us. So those of you who, if you don't like to read, when you're driving in your car, put it on YouTube, listen to it. You go into the bathroom, put it on and listen to it. You taking a shower, put it on and listen to it. You cooking and cleaning, put it on and listen to it so that you understand what we're dealing with. Because they're not going to tell you about these books. They're not going to tell you about our scholars. They're not going to tell you about our history. This is what they do. Okay? All right. I love everybody. I hope you understand now a little clearer why you don't see me as an advocate for multiculturalism. We must first protect our own culture. The culture determines the values, social norms, and behaviors of society. And those values and social norms and behaviors of society must have priority. And that priority is to protect, secure, and provide for the prosperity of the group itself. And that prosperity, posterity, future is our children. So I hope you find nothing wrong in that. There's nothing wrong with loving yourself, loving your people, and loving your children. Nothing wrong with that. Anyone who is changing that to suggest in any way that saying I love black African people and black people, and I'm going to talk about the black, I'm going to talk about that, that's coming, would be using propaganda to distort the message. All right? You know I love black African people and black African children, and I'm for the future of our survival. Okay? All right. Love you guys all. Take care. See you soon. Uhuru. Uhuru. Uhuru.